What if everything you've been told about India's economic rise is only half the story? What if the moment we celebrate as India's awakening was actually a trade-off that came with invisible chains? And what if the seeds of today's inflation, unemployment, and wealth inequality were quietly planted the moment we opened our economy to the world? Because here's a question most textbooks never ask. Did liberalization truly liberate India? Or did it lock us into a new cycle, a polished, modern, global version of dependency? Tonight, we break the myth. This is the truth about India's liberalization, an awakening, or a financial illusion. To understand what happened in 1991, we have to go back to the beginning, because India wasn't always racing for foreign investment. It wasn't always obsessed with GDP growth. In the decades after independence, India followed a system inspired by Jawaharlal Nehru's vision, a mixed economy with private markets. Yes, but strong government control over resources. This meant public sector companies running steel, coal, banking, energy-heavy regulation over imports and foreign currency protection of local industries from global giants. It was slow, it was cautious, and many say it was necessary for a nation that had just survived 200 years of colonial extraction. But as time passed, the narrative changed. By the 1970s and 80s, critics argued this system had turned into a trap. Endless paperwork to start a business, price controls that hurt innovation, corruption, favoritism, inefficiency. The world was globalizing. Capitalism was accelerating. And India, they said, was being left behind. But here comes the twist most people don't know. India did not choose liberalization from a position of strength. It was forced into it by a crisis so severe that the government had to do something unimaginable. In the 1980s, India borrowed heavily from abroad to keep the economy moving. Imports rose, oil prices skyrocketed, exports didn't grow fast enough. By 1991, India had $1.2 billion in foreign reserves left, barely enough for 2 weeks of imports. 2 weeks. People feared the country was headed toward bankruptcy. To prevent default, the government did something unthinkable. It mortgaged 67 tons of its gold to foreign banks. Imagine that for a second. The world's largest democracy, pledging its gold just to survive. That moment, more than any policy, any speech, any law, is what pushed India toward liberalization. In July 1991, the finance minister, Dr. Manmohan Singh, stepped forward with a plan that would change India forever. The government dismantled the license Raj, reduced import tariffs, allowed foreign companies to enter, privatized public enterprises, deregulated industries, opened the stock market to global investors. The message to the world was clear: India is open for business. And the results came fast. IT sector exploded, outsourcing became a goldmine. Cities like Bangalore, Hyderabad, Pune boomed. Millionaires were created. GDP growth surged in the 2000s for the first time. India felt like a global power. Advertisements promised shining India. Malls, multiplexes, smartphones, stock markets. The world finally saw India as a rising economic giant. To many, this was proof. Liberalization worked. But success always casts a shadow. And in that shadow, something else was growing. Something no one wanted to talk about. So what did India trade in exchange for rapid growth? Let's break it down. Inequality skyrocketed. Cities boomed. Rural India didn't. Mega corporations rose. Small businesses collapsed. The top 1% became wealthier than ever before. The middle class grew. But so did the gap between the rich and the poor. Dependency on foreign investment. Think about this. If your economy depends on outside money, what happens when that money leaves? It's like building your house on rented land. This cycle repeats constantly. Global investors come in, gives markets rise. They withdraw during global shocks, gives markets crash. Economic destiny, suddenly tied to forces India couldn't control. Deindustrialization by competition. Indian companies had to compete with giants. Walmart, Amazon, Coca-Cola, Toyota, Samsung. For many local businesses, it wasn't competition, it was domination. Jobless growth, yes. GDP grew, but where were the jobs? Automation plus corporate consolidation meant profits didn't always create employment. Growth without livelihood. Numbers without stability. The debt web. India didn't just open the door to investment, it opened the door to loans. External debt rose, creating a dependency cycle. Borrow gives, spend, gives, grow, gives, owe, gives, repeat. India was no longer a closed economy. But was it truly free? Every system faces a moment where the illusion cracks. For India, those moments came in waves. The 1997 Asian financial crisis, the 2008 global meltdown, oil shocks, currency crashes, pandemic disruption. Every crisis revealed the same truth. When the global economy sneezes, India catches a fever, because the more open an economy is, the more exposed it becomes. Over the years, governments tried to fix the cracks. FDI limits were adjusted, new infrastructure plans announced, Make in India campaigns launched, corporate tax reforms introduced, but the structure stayed the same. Growth fueled by external forces, not internal engines. Here's the paradox. India wants investment, but resents foreign influence, wants growth, but fears dependency, wants global markets, but wants domestic control. This is the liberalization dilemma. And here's the final twist. None of this means liberalization failed. It means we never finished the work. Opening the economy was step 1. Building domestic capacity should have been step 2. Reducing vulnerability should have been step 3. But step 2 and 3 never fully happened, so we're stuck between awakening and illusion. Look around today, tech unicorns rise. While skilled graduates struggle for jobs, giant valuation companies soar. While MSMEs fight cheap imports, urban wealth surges. While farmers protest for stability, India is living in two worlds at once. A shining skyscraper on one side, a collapsing textile mill on the other. Modern India is not one story. It's two parallel realities fighting for dominance. Final takeaways. So, was liberalization an awakening, or an illusion? Maybe the answer is both. Here are 3 truths we cannot ignore. Liberalization lifted India, but unevenly. It created opportunity, but not evenly shared. Dependency replaced isolation. India became global, but also vulnerable to global shocks. Growth isn't freedom without stability. Numbers don't matter if citizens can't feel the progress. The real risk for India isn't globalization. It's believing that globalization alone is enough. Every great nation plays the global game, but the smartest ones write their own rules. China did, Japan did, South Korea did. The question is, will India, or will we be passengers in a vehicle we don't control, celebrating the journey while ignoring the direction? So tell me, what do you think? Is India's success unstoppable, or is it fragile beneath the surface? Comment below. Let's debate, let's question, let's understand. Because a country doesn't awaken when it opens its markets. It awakens when its people open their minds. If this video made you think, subscribe. More stories, more truth, more conversations that matter. This is Economic Historian. Until next time, keep questioning the world.